Hello and welcome to today's edition of Adda with Kalyan, where we have a very interesting chat in store with you. So think of the times when you've gone out for a special occasion dinner, thought of a restaurant and said, "Nahi, magar ye to ghar ka khana hai. This is Indian food." So that's what today's discussion is about: how to take Indian food into a modern fine dining context. With me today, I've got three very interesting chefs. I've got Chef Michael Swamy with me. Chef Michael Swamy got trained at La Cordon Bleu, came back to India, got inspired by his mother and decided to get into food styling. But he didn't restrict himself to just French or European food, but he focused on how to make Indian food look better. I've got with me Chef Anirudhya Roy, with whom I've often had lovely addas on Indian food. He's executive chef on Taj Lands End and is doing some seminal work on bringing traditional Indian food back to the forefront. Joining us in Delhi is Chef Manish Mehrotra of the very exciting Indian Accent restaurant, the only restaurant from India to make it in the top 100 this year in the Restaurant Awards. And now he's going and opening a restaurant in New York as well. So a very, very interesting panel. Thanks for joining us from Delhi, Manish. Thanks for joining us, Anirudhya. Thanks for joining us, Michael. Thank you. Pleasure. So I'm going to start with you, Anirudhya. How do you convince the restaurant diner who feels that I can cook this at home to come and pay top dollar, or should I say top rupees, on Indian food in a five-star restaurant?
So I think, Kalyan, it's all about, food is all about bringing the experience to the table. And when I say bringing the experience to the table, what we need to do is probably dig deep and find some forgotten recipes, or probably bring in food which would trigger memories for us. Yeah. For example, you know, we are just about launching a new menu at our Masala Bay at Taj Lands End, and we have a dish by the name Sunday Mutton Curry. Yeah, yeah. And we're going to serve it in a pressure cooker. Wow. So it kind of reminds you of your childhood. At least for me, I used to look forward to my Sunday. Absolutely. When my dad would get lamb cut in pieces from different cuts of the lamb, and you could hear the whistle going off, and you would look forward to gorging on that lamb curry. And you know, it was almost a tradition to have it on a Sunday with home cooked nice basmati rice. So,
and just after having watched Mahabharata on TV.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is something we miss. Also, what we're doing is we're getting lamb from Rajasthan to try for that particular preparation. Now, for a home meal, for an Indian cooking food at home, you know, logistics do not support us to get those kind of ingredients. Yeah, yeah. So it's a happy mix. It's a balance between getting the right ingredients and triggering in the right emotional, so that the food turns into an experience rather than just filling up your stomach.
And food is so much about emotion. It's so much about the memories which
absolutely. Bring about. I mean, without the emotion and memory, it's just about filling up your stomach, and that's not what you go to a restaurant for. At least to a good restaurant.
Absolutely. You know, talking of this Sunday mutton curry, Chef Michael, one of the challenges which people face when dealing with Indian food is that we feel that it's very difficult to make Indian food look good, especially curries and gravies and stuff like that. So what do you feel? I mean, a lot of us see shows like MasterChef Australia or Jamie's shows and Rachel Allen's and stuff, and we look at the food and say that why can't Indian food be presented like that? Is it possible at all?
It's very possible. When I came back from London after studying at the Cordon Bleu, I decided to take all the French plating techniques and adapt them to Indian cuisine. So smaller portions, specially designed bowls where the gravy was limited in its space rather than flowing all over. Yeah. These are the things I was looking for. And this is what I did. Stacking your pieces of meat or your vegetables with a gravy around it, or just a smear of gravy. Using edible flowers, or going beyond just coriander.
Why is plating so important, but?
You see with your eyes first, you eat with your eyes. So when I see a beautifully presented bowl of food, I want to eat it.
Absolutely.
It has to go on beyond the palak paneer, beyond the butter chicken. Even the butter chicken should not just look like a brown mass.
Yeah, I mean, I hope my mom's not watching, but you know, she used to make this Bengali dish shukto, and it used to look like green and amorphous, and I would never touch it. But I came to restaurants and I saw the vibrant shukto, and I'm now a shukto fan. You know, after like I crossed my mid-30s. I'm just coming back to you, Chef Anirudhya, that how does one make food seem special in a five-star restaurant? I mean, that's what, because I was talking to a friend of mine about a lovely Bengali meal at the Land's End. And he said that why spend so much on Indian food? So how does one convince such people?
See, like I said initially, that you know, A, it's all about the ingredients, and B, it is about the preparation of the food. Unlike many other cuisines, I think Indian food is very, very complex, and most people don't want to experiment with complex recipes or forgotten recipes at home, is because the complexity of the food, while probably a French or Italian food is far lesser complex than Indian food. So in five-star hotels also, we need to revive this tradition and concept of delving with experimenting with complex food, and have the patience and the tenacity to prepare that food, and then serve it in, you know, the trick is to make the rustic trendy. You know, like for example, I again go back to your Sunday mutton curry. I know that's a very, very you know, simple lamb curry, but to serve it in a nice pressure cooker which comes to your table, now there's no rocket science behind it, but it makes it that much more interesting. So that's what is required to be done with each and every. Now we, you know, we love to eat, all of us, wherever we go, we love to eat chaat. That's like a staple street food. Now we serve chaat at our atrium lounge, and what we do is we do a flight of chaat where we have 5 different kind of chaat portioned in small different kind of bowls, glass bowls, which are kept on a platter. So you get a you know, you get a composite chaat platter, and you can taste 5 different chaats at one go. Now, while the structure of the food has been retained completely, the flavors have been retained, but it's presented in a different manner, which is probably little cumbersome to do at home, and that's how you would be able to draw in the crowd. You know, a home
absolutely, like a completely different format and environment.
Absolutely.
I think we've got Chef Manish back with us, and Chaat is a good time to come back to us because he's joining us from Chaat City. But the thing is that while he comes from a city with a very rich Indian food tradition, he's presenting food in a completely different way. And I'm very interested to know, Chef, that how did people react to it? Like, did people say that you're messing around with Indian food?
Kalyan, when we started Indian Accent, I said like at least 2 tables in a day used to walk out from the restaurant saying that they didn't understand anything in the menu. And it was a tough job to make people convinced, because about Indian Accent is not only presenting Indian food in a different manner, but what chefs say, that getting nostalgia back into the menu, getting home cooked dishes which are always there at home but never served in a restaurant to in a limelight. The things like khichdi or a khandvi or
the daulat ka chaat,
chawanprasad,
or
these things.
Yeah. In fact, I remember reading about daulat ka chaat in Pamela Tim's book on Delhi, and then finding it at Indian Accent, and I was like really thrilled about it.
Yeah. So it's like people are going crazy about forms and everything all over the world, and this form we are doing past 200 years and nobody even paid attention to it.
Or even the Parsi doodh ka puff. You know, that
I mean, you go to Varanasi, the nimish that they serve early morning.
Nimish. What is nimish?
It's the early morning milk, which the foam that you get, the froth on top, and it's difficult to do. But it's a delicacy.
Wow. So Chef Michael, you know, you've written this very interesting book on East Indian cooking, And what do you think is the future for comparatively lesser known cooking traditions like East Indian, or say in Mumbai also the Pathare Prabhus and so on, and there's so many across India. Like recently there was some work done on kayast cooking in Delhi. How easy or difficult is it to bring this sort of cooking into a modern fine dining context, which is so dominated by North Indian and frontier cooking?
I think one has to even step beyond the Northeast and the frontier cooking is when we train our chefs to go beyond the 5 gravies that are under the table, where they have to play around with freshly ground spices, masala blends, which are they're rare recipes, rare cuisines, and that nostalgia factor comes back again when I eat a dish which has the original blend of spices that anyone's mom makes at home. And that's when food comes alive.
True, and we've got such a rich cooking tradition that it's really up to folks like you to bring it up. You know, Chef Manish, coming back to you, since Indian accent is so strongly associated with modern Indian cooking, what I'd like to know is that are you inventing new food or are you reinventing new food? Is your food rooted in tradition, or is it like Indian food like we've never known it before?
See, I would say modern cuisine is nothing without traditional one. Without grandfather, there can't be a grandson.
Absolutely.
So same way, Indian accent also, we follow the traditional recipes, but the thing is that give it in a twist in such a way where you said that if somebody has to serve khichdi on a fine dining restaurant menu, you have to add value to it. Then only customer will or guest will be ready to pay the top bucks for it. If you're serving chaat, you have to add value to that chaat. And the thing is, still now in India, the effort which goes, I'm not talking about expensive ingredients, but the thing is, effort which goes in a dish was never considered as a value addition.
And this is across sectors, now, I think.
The sweat equity.
It's across section because labor was so cheap, the people never used to pay attention of that some guy has made this particular thing, giving 2 hours or 3 hours to make one portion of that thing. So that was never counted in India because we never considered labor as an important part. But nowadays, which is happening, that people should know that even it's a simple dish, they should see how much effort has gone in that dish.
Absolutely.
Even if you are eating a small platter of chaat, you should see how much effort is gone in that chaat and how much detailing has been done in that chaat.
And also how much thought has gone into it, no? Because it's so much about intellectual thought and processes which goes into food as well. So Chef Anirudhya, what I'm interested in knowing is that you would be having a lot of, I mean both you as well as Chef Manish would be having a lot of international guests coming in. So do you see the perception to Indian food changing over the years by what you're in your restaurant?
Yes, of course. I mean, the international clientele that we get at our place, I think more and more they have come to understand that, like what Chef Manish said, I think we will finally get our sweat equity that we deserve for very long time. And people are realizing more so the international traveler and the international client that there is a lot of effort in preparing these complex dishes with complex recipes, and there is a lot of sweat and toil that goes behind this to bring it to the table. And that realization, once it dawns on on people by and large, that's when people will start to realize how difficult or how easy it is to get that food onto the table.
In fact, it's a lot about how much one's able to create the story or sell oneself over there. And you've been doing a lot of work on YouTube, Chef Michael, especially with your Hopping Chef channel. And the thing about a YouTube audience is that you're reaching out to all parts of the world, and you're presenting Indian food to in a very international canvas. So have you got any reactions on your channels from viewers in terms of the food you're doing?
There have been several reactions, and I've always been going with the focus of making Indian cuisine a global cuisine. And a lot of comments come back is, why is it like this? Or it's not so much negative, it's they find it strange.
They're perplexed.
Yes, they're perplexed about it.
Yeah. So how do you sort of explain to them? What's your vision? for Indian food?
I just kind of have to show them that yes, the plating can be better, the flavors can be better by using fresher ingredients, higher quality ingredients, and adding that nostalgic value to it.
Chef Manish, you are now moving into New York with the Indian accent story, and congratulations on that. And in a way, you're going to be an ambassador for Indian food in New York, and which is such a food-loving city. So, what is the story that you are going to try to tell about Indian food over there?
There are a lot of myths about Indian food amongst the international people, that they have some pre-mindset about Indian food. I'm not talking about London and maybe a little bit in New York, but rest of the world's food is about very few things. And Indian food is about chilies and all these things. There are few misconceptions which definitely we would love to make it clear. And I'm not saying I'm going to educate people, but at least we can inform them that apart from chicken tikka masala and naan bread, there are thousands of things in India which is worth trying. And second thing is that Indian food is not about chilies. Indian food is about spices. And my mother never made a spicy food at home.
Absolutely,
and we don't eat chilies at home every day. And and apart from North India and that also Punjab region, there are other regions in India which have got great dishes and great exotic dishes. I wouldn't say only great dishes, but really exotic dishes with exotic ingredients which are worthy of being served in a good restaurant in New York also, and people should know about it.
So which are the regions? So which are the regions that you're going to focus on? And what I'm interested in is that, are the New Yorkers going to get some Bengali food through Indian accent?
Absolutely, absolutely. They are going to have a fresh taste of what Kashundi is.
Oh, wow.
So I feel Kashundi can give good fight to Dijon mustard.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So these are the few things which we are going to do, and the best part is that Indian flavors, Indian cuisine and Indian style of cooking is very, very adaptive, and we can adapt to their kind of ingredients also, which we don't get it in India. And flavor it with Indian cuisine without killing those ingredients in a second time. So we can use their ingredients, their local produce, and turn it into an Indian cuisine thing with Indian influences into it.
That's really exciting, and I think all of us in India who love the world of food would be rooting for you and looking forward to your success over there.
Thank you so much.
Chef Anirudhya, I had a question that, when I went to Spain, or like when I look at Japan and places like that, or even Prague, I've seen that locals are willing to pay a good amount of money on their native food. So if you're in Barcelona or Madrid, you're willing to go and spend good money on local Spanish food, Giro of course in Tokyo for the sushi and so on. Why is it that people in the developed world are willing to spend on their own food, while in India we're willing to spend on foie gras but not on goat meat or an Indian mutton curry?
Okay, so taking a cue from what you said in the developed world, so I think it's all about economics. Certain places in the world, they have economically evolved and they have far more disposable income than we have. Once we reach that stage, we today are a 2 trillion economy if my economics goes right, and tomorrow when we reach that 3 trillion or a 4 trillion mark and the tipping point happens, and there will we have more and more people with more disposable income, that is when we will move up the value chain of economics, and that's when we get into an experiential bit of cuisine. Right now I think we are at a cusp, and we are still more bothered about week to week, we are still day to day, we are still more bothered about filling our stomach rather than having a great experience. So once that happens, I think the same will happen with Indian food.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So talking of the resurgence of Indian food, I have a question to you, Chef Michael. You went to La Cordon Bleu, trained over there and came back. Do you foresee a situation where you'll have international chefs coming to India to learn from chefs like you, Chef Anirudh, Chef Manish Mehrotra? Do you see that trend happening?
Oh, definitely. It's already happening. There are people coming, and we get requests via email that they want to come and spend two or 3 days with us. It's already, the trend has already begun.
So people are willing to try out.
Try out.
Interesting. We've got 2 ladies from hotel school in Canada who's currently training with us as we speak.
And are they eating what they're cooking as well?
They're working at Masala Bay. They've specially come over here to learn Indian cuisine, and they're going to be here for 2 months to take back a comprehensive knowledge of Indian food and do a little bit of research as well. And we've been asked to give them a project so that they can research bits and parts of Indian food and take it back to Canada. So I think it's happening. It's a matter of time.
So Chef Manish, do we see an Indian accent academy opening in New York?
Not at the moment, but Indian Accent Delhi has become almost like an academy, because we have given chefs to all over India for opening new modern Indian restaurants.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I've come across so many chefs who've trained in Indian accent, and you've given inspiration for so many people that it's really great. So that brings us towards the end of today's episode, and thanks so much for joining us. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation today, and all of us here at Indian Food Network are really rooting for Indian food, and we've got some people who've been great ambassadors for Indian food joining us today in the studio. So do look out for our next Adda next Tuesday. If you have any topics which you'd like to see, if you have any people you'd like to see in our panels, do write in on the India Food Network site or write into kalyan@pingnetwork.in, and I look forward to chatting with you next Tuesday. Thank you. Thank you, Chef Manish.